It began with a single phone call, not from beyond the grave this time, but from one horror legend to another. Director Scott Derrickson, the mind behind The Black Phone and Sinister, wasn't planning to make a sequel to his 2021 horror hit. The story felt complete. The characters had met their fate, and the eerie black phone had gone silent. But then came a short, unexpected call from Joe Hill, the acclaimed author and son of the master of horror himself, Stephen King. In that call, just a few words changed everything. A phone rings, Hill told Derrickson. Finney answers, and it's the grabber calling from hell. That single sentence sent a shiver down Derrickson's spine and ignited the spark for The Black Phone 2, one of 2025's most anticipated horror films. When The Black Phone first hit theaters in 2021, it stunned audiences and critics alike. Adapted from Hill's short story, it told the chilling tale of Finney, a shy teenager kidnapped by a sadistic killer known only as the Grabber, played by Ethan Hawke in one of his most haunting performances. Trapped in a soundproof basement, Finney discovers an old rotary phone that somehow connects him to the ghosts of the Grabber's past victims. Through their calls, the boy learns to fight back, turning fear into strength in a story that blended supernatural dread with human courage. It was both terrifying and deeply emotional, a rare mix that made the film an instant classic. For Derrickson and his longtime writing partner, Robert Cargill, it felt like a perfect ending. But Joe Hill had other ideas. Known for his sharp storytelling and creative twists, Hill's one-line pitch, The Grabber Calling from Hell, planted a seed that Derrickson couldn't ignore. It wasn't about cashing in on a successful franchise. It was about curiosity. What would happen if evil didn't die quietly? What if the horrors of the past could still reach out, not to haunt the living, but to demand unfinished business? That was the hook. Cargill explained in a recent interview with Bloody Disgusting. Once Joe said it, we both just sat there in silence for a minute, and then Scott said, "Okay, I think we have a movie." From there, the team began crafting a story that expands the world of The Black Phone without undoing what made the first film so powerful. The sequel, Derrickson says, picks up with Finney, once again played by Mason Thames, still haunted by the trauma of his abduction. He's older now, but the phone won't stop ringing. Each call pulls him deeper into a new nightmare, one that feels colder, darker, and more psychological. The director knew he didn't want to repeat the claustrophobic suburban horror of the original. Instead, he decided to change the setting entirely, transporting the story to a remote winter camp in the Colorado Rockies. "I grew up in North Denver," Derrickson said. "I wanted to capture that working-class 1970s feel again, but in a harsher, more isolated place." He remembered attending winter camp as a teen, the kind of place where the wind howls through the trees, where temperatures drop to 70 below with the wind chill, and where silence can be more terrifying than any scream. Visually and thematically, The Black Phone 2 promises something we've rarely seen in horror: a winter camp setting that trades sunshine and slasher tropes for snowstorms and psychological terror. "We've seen plenty of summer camp horror," Derrickson explained, "but 1982 in the Rockies, in the dead of winter, that's something new. The isolation becomes part of the fear. No cell phones, no electricity. Just endless snow, deep woods, and a black phone that rings even when the line's been cut." The director's signature blend of realism and the supernatural creates a chilling atmosphere that's both nostalgic and fresh. The movie, releasing on October 17th, invites audiences back into a world where death doesn't mean silence, and where every ring might be a call from the other side. Behind the scenes, Derrickson's creative partnership with Robert Cargill remains the beating heart of the project. The duo, who previously collaborated on Doctor Strange and Sinister, have always focused on stories that balance fear with emotion. The first movie worked because it wasn't just about ghosts or killers, Cargill said. It was about survival, resilience, and childhood trauma. In The Black Phone 2, that emotional depth continues, but now it's Finney who becomes the voice for others. The lines between victim and savior blur, and somewhere in the static between worlds, the grabber's voice echoes once more. Ethan Hawke's return to the role is still shrouded in secrecy, but early reports suggest his performance will be even more haunting. Part memory, part manifestation, and entirely terrifying. Horror fans are buzzing with theories. Is the grabber really calling from hell, or is Finney's mind fracturing under guilt and fear? Could the phone itself be cursed, a relic that feeds on trauma? Derrickson and Cargill refuse to answer. The mystery is part of the experience, Derrickson teases. What's certain is that The Black Phone 2 will once again combine the psychological tension of classic horror with modern emotional storytelling. And Joe Hill's influence remains unmistakable. His ability to tap into primal fears while exploring the fragility of innocence. Much like his father, Stephen King, Hill's stories never just scare, they resonate. In the same way, The Black Phone 2 isn't simply about terror. It's about what happens when people try to move on, but the past refuses to let go. As October 17 draws near, anticipation is at a fever pitch. The film industry is watching closely, not just to see if The Black Phone 2 matches the success of its predecessor, but to see if it can redefine what a horror sequel can be. Scott Derrickson didn't want to make this movie at first, but one haunting idea and one unexpected call convinced him there was still something left to say. In a genre often dominated by endless reboots and shallow scares, The Black Phone 2 stands out as a passion project born from genuine inspiration. As Derrickson puts it, you don't answer every call that comes your way, but when it's coming from hell and Joe Hill, you pick up. This October, audiences everywhere will do the same. The line is open, and the nightmare is calling once again.